Hello viewers and welcome to another bodgit and leggit video. This is part 2 on this Jeep Mitsubishi Pajero 2.8. We are now getting the engine ready to be put back in. So basically what we need to do is everything we need to take off the old engine, we need to put on the new engine. Now there's a few bits I don't have to change, there's a few bits I do. I'm putting the alternator on, which is here. I need to put that on. I'm putting new fan belts on because, believe me, you as well, I've put new fan belts on at this stage because once it's in, it's going to make your life so much harder. The clutch and stuff we're actually okay with, and yeah, so it's just a case of putting this in, putting the fan belts, getting into tension, and then we're going to be ready to pop it back. So what I'm going to do first is just line up the alternator in. So just kind of put it in there. Can be a bit fiddly. Line up. Now this is the, just put the bottom bolt in, and this is how you basically adjust it with that fella there. So I'm just going to very gently just put that in by hand for the minute, just so I know it's not going to fall out. Now we've got 2 bolts here. Which we have an adjuster rod, which obviously makes the fan belts tighter or loose, and we had the locking nut, which is there. This bracket then that's onto the engine helps you move the alternator in and out to get the actual right tension. It's important at the minute to keep this bracket loose, because the bracket has to be loose to move up and down depending on where the alternator is actually going. So what we need to do is put this bolt through the little slot on the bracket, and then put the locking bolt all the way through. Again, I'm not going to tighten anything yet, it's all going to be hand tight. Now I'm going to put the 2 fan belts on. 2 fan belts are the same size and they both go around the same pulleys. Just the extra torque and stuff that's in the engine, that's why you need the extra belt. Modern cars now have a thicker belt, so you don't particularly really need it. Just the way this happens to be set up. So read it around all of them, and just take that out a minute, get it on the bottom one. And what's important to note is make sure you have it on the right ones at first. We need to go into the second one. We need this looser, so I'm going to take this out and allow me to slide the alternator in. You can see that. The more I twist this out, the more I can pull the alternator in, which gives me more slack, which allows me to put the belts on. Now with new belts, once you've got them on, after a few months you just might need to give them a bit of a nip because they do stretch a little bit. So I need to go a bit more. Now, to get that on. Close. Now, these go on to the second one, to the second rib, because I need to put 2 of the belts on. Same thing again, this one needs to go on the first rib now. Down on the bottom, and then back on the alternator. Now we have them bolts on, we can tighten this up, and the opposite way of what we've just done. And obviously this is so much easier to do this now. This is why I'm doing it now rather than doing it when it's on. bolt all the way back. Now, before I tighten any of the main bolts on it, I'm just going to adjust the adjuster screw, which is a 12mm bolt basically. Now, as I adjust this, it's going to pull the alternator out, which is going to make my belt tighter. So we just need to get this. You'll see them getting pulled in at the bottom. Double make sure now that they are definitely in the right place, which they are. Now we can see from the bottom that these are getting tighter. It's a good sign. Basically, how you know that you've got the right tension on the belt is as long as you can turn it 90 degrees like that. If you can turn it more, you need to adjust it more. You don't want to obviously do it too much because you'll snap the belt or you'll do damage to the bearings. So I can go a little bit more with that. Not too much now, just a little bit. Again, now, I'm happy enough with that. Same on here. Can I get the... Yeah. Now, like I said, after a few months they will need adjusting, but at least at the minute they're okay. It's a lot easier to do this now than it is to do it when it's on the car. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lock the actual locking bolts. Once I've done the locking bolt, I want to do the bolt that holds the actual bracket on. I think it's 14mm, which it is, so I want to tighten that up. Now, so that's that done, and the last bolt is this fella here, which I'm not sure exactly what size that is, but that looks to be maybe 17. Which it is, so 17mm, so I can now tighten this all the way. And just give me that bit more on it, get 19mm on it and extend it just a bit. Now, that is good. Now, if you turn the engine here, you can see when you get engines from, you know, scrapyards and stuff like that, they just, as you can see, they just cut everything. So they don't bother to unclip it, they just cut everything. So this is going to be my way as I'm coming to put the engine on. So what I'm going to do is just take off these two bolts here, starting like that. Starting like this, tap it off. Now, take that off, which then takes the wires off. One less thing in the way, because you don't want anything in the way, you want this to be as easy as possible. Another thing we can see, again, because you get it from a scrapyard, as you can see, this little pipe here, which looks like it's the water pump, or part of the water pump anyway, the pipe is all just bent. So we need to change that off the old engine. They look to be 11 or 10mm. So I'm going to get the bolt from that, take that off. Now it's 10mm. Now depending on sometimes you might have to replace a lot depending on how they've actually took it out. You see, they don't really care on how they take these things out, as long as you get them out. So damage does get done. It's good to have a good check around your engine, because the last thing you want to do is figure these things out once it's in your car and it's too late. This just happens to be a nice easy fix, but not all the time they are. I can't really see anything else. Everything else, to be fair, looks good. Again, with things like this, as you can see, they've just cut the pipe. So again, once you're here, take off these clips and just take the pipes off, because at least then you're not going to have to do it when it's in the car. It's a lot easier to do it now. So anything you can see they've cut, it's best just to get that off. So I'm going to replace this pipe now first off, before I forget. Now it's actually a power steering pipe, not a water pipe. And there's a little O-ring. So you want to make sure you get the O-ring back. This is my new pipe. Or the pipe off the old engine, should I say. And this is why it's a good thing when you are taking an engine out, you do have to be careful, because, don't get me wrong, things can get broken, bent. But the more things you break, potentially the person that takes the engine out is going to break the same things. So it means you then start having to buy things, which then starts getting very expensive for everybody. Now, that's it, and this is the actual pipe from that there. So in a minute, let me just shut that on, just like that. I know it's done. Now, next thing I want to do, as we can see, they've cut pipes here as well, and that one is the return for the diesel. They've just cut everything, which is a nightmare, unfortunately, for me anyway. Undo these now, I've got the chance. Just to make it a lot quicker for me, I'm going to use the air gun and just rip off all these. Remind me where they are. Just going to whip off these and have to cut these off because they're all just caked off. Now I can just cut them off. Right, now all I'm going to do is literally just cut these because it's the easiest way to get them off the damage anyway. And that's the second one. Now, there's two fuel pipes here, but leave them on for the minute. There's a little vacuum pipe there, but I want to leave that on just so I remember it's there, because otherwise you can easily forget. They're easy enough to get to them. Fan belts are on, everything else. So, what I can see, this one's ready to go in. Right, before we put the engine in, what I will need to do is put a new release bearing inside the gearbox. We have it here. As you can see, the old one got damaged because we're not using the old clutch or the old flywheel. There's a dual mass flywheel on it. We've put a solid flywheel on it. And I've done videos on how to do that, so there's no point in showing that. But we are going to put a new release bearing in. I have to climb in. It's the easiest way to do it. I'm not going to be able to show all this, but you're going to get the idea because it's just there's no room and it's very awkward. I have the gearbox fork assembly completely disassembled, you could say. It's very simple. The fork should be there, and there's this pin that goes all the way up through it, and there's a hole at the bottom which bolts into a bolt hole right there. So what we have to do is we have to put the release bearing on first, which just literally goes on the right way. Might help. Then we can put the fork in. This is where I'm going to have to struggle. I'm going to have to put this fork. This fork has to line up into here. So basically, as you can see, the fork has to go inside there, which holds the fork to the actual gearbox. Now what I have to do with this pin, you can see here, has to come through the hole in the gearbox, up through everything, and then it lines up with, so I'm not going to be able to do this and show it because there's just no room, but that pin, as you can see, I brought it up from the bottom. I now have to put it straight up through these three connections here, and then that's it. Make sure then that you've still got that end on the actual on the actual slave cylinder, and then that's how you put the release bearing into it. Now I have it in, as you can see, but there was an extra bit to this. That plate you can see on top was an extra. I've never seen it before, but basically this is the old one here. You can see this ridge. That's what I put in, and I just assumed that everything was with it, but it isn't. You have to take the little edge off it, which you can just see there. That sits onto the clutch plate, and that will give us proper clutch. It's something to just to remember to do. Now what we've got to do is put the engine in. Right, as you can see, we've taken off the wheels to get the front of the Jeep down a lot lower. We have the engine ready to go there. So what we're going to do now is literally put it in. So I'm just going to leave this camera running. I'll obviously speed it up because it'll be boring otherwise, and hopefully this should go in quite well, hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm going to turn this off now because this could take us hours to get this in, but we're just basically trying to centre the gearbox to the engine. Once I have that done, I'll turn the camera back on. Right people, we have it in. We're just doing the last couple of bolts on the bottom. Hopefully now you can see that the gearbox is all the way nice and tight. So now we've just got to connect everything, put all the engine mounts on properly, put all the gearbox bolts on, kind of just tidy it up, connect all the wires. So that's it, it's in. Everything's connected. That was the hardest part, getting the engine and gearbox together, which did take forever. But anyway, it's in now. So look, this is going to be part 2. I'm going to leave this at part 2. And part 3 should hopefully, maybe should be the last part, I'm not quite sure yet. So I hope it helps. Thumbs up and subscribe, and don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one.